Studying can be incredibly frustrating. Students describe essentially feeling like a mouse in a maze. There are so many paths to take, but the more you try and run around and find your way out, sometimes the more lost you get. Learning how to study is probably one of the biggest obstacles for students entering post-secondary education. They don't feel confident in their study skills, or they feel like they study for hours and hours on end and walk away from the study session feeling even more confused than when they sat down. Today, we are going to figure out how to study. And this very first episode is going to give you a brief overview on how you can start making sense of the overwhelm you're feeling during those crazy long study sessions so that you can sort through all of that and make a plan that actually works for you. By the way, I'm Terrell, and this is Absolutely Studying. And I was there once too. I bootstrapped my way through university while juggling a full-time job and a family. I can tell you it was not easy, and that's why I want to pay it forward. We are going to go through the quick and dirty of how to create a study plan, how to untangle all of that mess of stress and confusion and actually sit down for study sessions that work for you. I don't even want to delay 1 second further. I want to get right into it. So let's just start with how long you're studying. I know students who will spend hours and days of these marathon study sessions, and they walk away and they feel like they haven't made any progress. So the first thing I want to tell you is that how you are studying makes much more of an impact compared to how long you are studying. You can study for an hour and sometimes have just as much impact as a 5 or 6 hour study session if you are playing to your own strengths. So that means knowing what study activities work for you, knowing how long you can pay attention, and also keeping yourself interested, refreshed, and switching up topics. So if you are doing these long marathon study sessions and you're just walking away feeling like you haven't made any progress, start by doing an audit of all of the activities you're doing while you're studying. What activities are you doing, and are they actually worth the time you're spending on them? If you're spending 10 hours just reading your textbook or just going over notes, you're probably not going to walk away retaining too much of the information. And that is because of 2 factors. The first factor is that you are going to retain information much better. You're going to build better memory cues if you're actually working with the information and doing things with it. And secondly is the forgetting curve. So let's start with the forgetting curve, and then we're going to double back to auditing those study activities. So the forgetting curve basically just says you are going to forget about 60% of the new information you take in within 24 hours of taking it in. So what does that mean? That means in class, if you learn 100% of the information, you're only going to retain about 40% of it. And no, you don't get to pick what 40% you retain. So the next day, you've forgotten 60% of what was said in class. Now, when you study those same concepts again, 60% of the stuff you forgot will now be brand new information. So of that 60% that you're studying again, you're going to forget 60% of that. So as you can see, you're only remembering portions of what you study each time. So you have to go over it again and again and again to really be able to keep and retain 100% of the information. And what that's called is spaced repetition. So you want to quickly familiarize yourself with the information you're studying repeatedly over the course of the semester. That's going to take a detailed study plan to stay on top of. In that study plan, you want to make sure that you're not only covering the new information, but you're also backtracking and looking at that old information. When you're doing this, you're going to also want to switch up how you went over that new information, and that's where the next part comes in. Doing activities where you actually are going to use and interact with the information is really going to help you to expand on the practical knowledge. That can be anything from doing practice problems to researching and expanding on your lecture notes, or actually doing labs. All of these things not only allow you to review the information by reading it, but it's also having you use your critical thinking to link that concept to other knowledge. You're learning how to work with it. You're learning how to expand it and apply it in different situations. And that is going to really fill in a lot of mental associations and link memory cues, giving it a much wider web in your brain. By creating all of these memory cues, you're making it less likely to lose the information. You're making it less likely that you will forget it, and you're going to make it easier to retrieve during test time because you are really filling in that information and linking it to other things that you know and can remember. One of the simplest ways to do this is to simply take the notes that you took in class and expand on the concepts with information from your textbook. This is going to really fill in your notes, and you can add as much detail as possible. When you're doing this, make sure you are writing it down. By hand is always better. The better that you can incorporate different ways of looking at the information is also going to really help you. So if you're able to add diagrams to explain information or creating charts to categorize it and compare it to different things, these are all really going to help because it takes that, elaborates on it, and then also uses problem solving and uses additional senses like sight in order to bring in more senses to help you remember better. So all of these things, all of these little differences from just reading your notes is really going to help out. The next thing that is really going to help you is a reading strategy that's really going to help you to expand, elaborate, and amplify how you take in the information. A really great place to start is the SQ3R, the SQUARE reading strategy. That strategy breaks down how you read into several deliberate tasks. These tasks really break down the reading process and help you intentionally think of every step of reading. It also breaks down so that you are constantly reviewing the information, not only in your textbook, but also in your mind and thinking about it and summarizing it. The S stands for skim, the Q stands for question, and then there are 3 R's: read, recite, and recall. Each of these steps are done independently. And again, they help you to not only just read the information, but also to think critically and analyze it as you're reading it so that you learn more and retain more information better the first time. But again, these strategies still have to be repeated over and over again. The SQUARE strategy is a great reading strategy to elevate your reading, but then when you want to review it again, it would be helpful to pull out those notes and then compare your lecture notes with your reading strategy and pull all of those notes from your textbook to be able to really expand on your lecture notes and help you to remember and help you to recall that information again in just a little bit more depth. Are you struggling to keep it all together this year? Schedules can be tough, and sometimes you just need a little help creating an action plan to succeed. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce a goal-oriented, step-by-step walkthrough that's going to help you create a strategy to finally get the grades you want. Introducing the How to Manifest Good Grades workbook. This workbook walks you through a practical 7-step method for manifesting better grades. This is not magic. This is an actual step-by-step process to better grades. Once you master this process, you can apply it again and again to stay on track. Use this workbook to prepare your action plan for the year or semester. This is a complete guide to creating your plan and following through step by step. You will have all the templates you need to create a personalized, comprehensive plan to help you achieve the grade you want. Whether you are completely new to manifesting or you've tried other techniques before, you will love how simple, practical, and fun it is. Follow this workbook and stick to the plan. You will not believe the amazing results you achieve. Head down into the description below to get your copy and use code YouTube for 10% off. And now, back to our regularly scheduled program. All of these points can be a little bit overwhelming, so one thing that will really help and simplify this is to plan out your study sessions so that you are switching up topics regularly and taking breaks frequently. I do have templates for this in my study planner. It is a free downloadable guide. I can link that in the show notes, and you can pick that up if you would like. Studying overall does take some trial and error to figure out what activities work for you and your learning style. The best thing to start is just by building intentional steps and practicing, switching up your study activities, trying out new ones, and just seeing what you enjoy and what works for you. I do have an article that shows you how to create a step-by-step study plan. I will link that in the show notes as well. And I also have another article that discusses how to improve your reading skills so you can understand better the first time. Those will also both be linked down in the description. Again, they are comprehensive guides that will really lead you through figuring out a study plan that works for you. This can be done in a step-by-step manner. You don't have to figure this out in a day. The first thing really to do is start to get organized and create that study plan. That in itself is going to relieve so much of the stress because you are going to have a plan and you're going to see the path. You're going to be able to see how you get from point A to point B, and you will see the steps along the way. This breaks it down so simply and so beautifully, especially if you download those templates, because it has everything you need to plan pretty much your entire semester and to study for pretty much anything. I also want to say a little thank you to our sponsor. I will link that down in the description as well if you want to check out some more information. This is the premiere episode of the podcast, and I am so excited to be sharing this journey with you. Every week, we are going to dive into the nitty-gritty about homework help, organization tips, and of course, study hacks. But that is all for this week. It means so much to me to be able to be on this journey with you. I want to make sure that your academic journey is as smooth and as fun and as stress-free as possible. So if you do have any questions for me, please feel free to email me, pop them in the comments, or catch me on my socials. I am at Absolutely Studying across all platforms. So now, until next week, I hope you have an amazing adventure.